Welcome to the Chosen Change podcast. I'm Josh. I'm here with my brother Rob.
Today we have a special guest, one of my best friends, childhood friends, my brother, Zach Armijo. I'm excited to hear his story and to get some of his advice.
I think this episode really comes. It's pretty cool because I don't know him, so I get to ask those dissective questions. Really, this episode is about the things that we kind of went through. Different story, but you guys are always around each other. We get to see how that affected you guys, and then just how it progressed, and then where we're at today.
Yeah, well, definitely. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. Obviously, Rob, my brother, we've been through thick and thin together for many, many years now. Josh, it's good to meet you, and I'm sure we'll kind of know more about each other
For sure.
as we go through this podcast.
Definitely. Well, to give you guys a little bit of a background between Zach and I, we met when we were about 5, 6 years old. Our moms introduced us. Somehow they were friends in Santa Fe growing up, and we played on our first Yaffle team together when we were 7, and that was the beginning of a friendship that's continues to grow to this day. We've played every sport. Every time I've played contact football, I have never not played with him on my team. So to have that person that I've depended on through life, it's a brotherhood, it's a friendship. We've gone through so many life things together, and I kind of want to talk about them because it's kind of crazy. If you hear about some of the things we've gone through, it's almost been something happens to one and then it happens to the other. So I'll go back as far as I can remember. We played high school sports together, and we both played the same position. What was nice is we complement each other. It wasn't a contest. Not once in my life have I ever felt like it's me versus him. It's always been us together. So a lot of times in high school, even our freshman year, a lot of seniors and upperclassmen, they would refer to us as Rob and Zach. They're always together. They're always boneheads, laughing, hanging out together. We did everything when it came to hanging out, school, sports, the weekend stuff. We were always together. And as I look back on it, I'm really thankful for Zach because there's a lot of things I have not tried in my life. And I believe it's because I had positive influences like him in my life. Although we weren't perfect and did the right things, we never got into drugs. We never did any malicious things. We didn't get in trouble with the law. We were high school kids. We played sports, went to school, and did what high schoolers do. So pretty cool to know that I've kind of had him through my whole life.
I can definitely relate to that. He wasn't my friend, but my cousin. We're 6 weeks apart, so we were together like you guys. Always together. And I tell him like the reason why I call you, it's not because I'm looking for bad advice. I know you're going to be the person that tells me, hey, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is what you do.
And I think, what's important for us and how we grew up is, both of us kind of had our dads, but they were in and out of our lives. So, I think
They both
both
dealt with alcohol issues.
Yeah.
So we both kind of we didn't really have that leader or that father in our life. Although our dads were good dads and they were good guys, they just weren't the leaders that we needed.
Yeah, they had issues, right? And so I think, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, Rob was definitely an outlet for me, right? I think, and vice versa, right? Because we were always there for each other, and we didn't necessarily have that a lot growing up. Like I have an older brother, so he was definitely more of a dad figure to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say more of a father figure.
Yeah,
sure.
He probably had to.
To both of us too. He looked out for both of us.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I've always, considered Rob family. Like, he'll go to my mom's house now and, she still greets him with open arms and, hey, Hito, how you doing? We grew up in kind of that traditional New Mexican style family.
Village.
Where exactly. Where it takes a village, right?
Yeah.
And so, I've always been very blessed to have this guy by my side.
We're
We're definitely different in a lot of ways, but I think we complement each other really good in in our differences, if that
Well,
makes sense.
So no, it definitely makes sense, and sometimes it's not a bad thing to have different perspectives, especially when I mean, I feel like everyone who's in tune to this or everyone that follows the show, like we have a pretty open mindset. That's why we're able to listen.
And we're kind of the same way. You and I,
Yep.
we're opposite, personalities, and they complement each other really
For
well.
sure, because if I tell you something, you're not gonna get mad. If you tell me something, I'm not gonna get mad. You know, and to have that as a kid, like that's
It's
priceless.
It was great growing up, and so from there, continued high school, we both graduated from Santa Fe. This is 2005. We moved to Albuquerque together as my first roommate. We got an apartment there on central Louisiana, which at the time we thought was a great area, but
Boy, he thought he was living in the penthouse suite.
the war zone, right? But the thing is, we had each other. And we had our other friend that lived with us too. We actually had a couple friends that lived with us, and us having each other's back, we never dealt with any issues. I never had to really deal with any fights or anything. I remember the first week we moved to Albuquerque, we went to a house party, and growing up in Santa Fe, you're always kind of cautious because you come to Albuquerque, which to us is a big city. And the first party we went to, rest in peace to our friend Tony Vasquez. We went with him to a party, and he's a bigger guy, and he was just a guy who looked out for everybody. Really nice guy, personable character. And we're at this party, kind of hanging out, drinking, underage drinking. And there's a guy just super drunk, and he starts saying stuff to me like, "Hey man, you're making fun of my sister or something." I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who his sister was, but I could just tell he was drunk and
Looking for a problem.
Yeah, he definitely was. And before you know it, he had a bottle behind his back, and he raised it up and he went to hit me in the face. And our buddy Tony stepped in and kind of blocked it, and the bottle went flying over the balcony. I just can imagine had that bottle would have hit me, one, it would have definitely injured me. I could have fallen off the balcony, but that was our first weekend in Albuquerque. So it was a weird impression because in Santa Fe, it don't matter if you don't like each other. Everybody has each other's back. No one is going to do anything to hurt each other in that community of people. Everybody knows everybody. And any parties we went to, like, it was never an issue that I remember that was similar to that. So to be the first week in Albuquerque, we just got our apartment. We're just finding a job. We're kind of getting our feet wet. And, thank God I had those protecting friends in my life because it would have been a bad experience right off the beginning. So that's how our life started. We start in Albuquerque. He's working, going to school. I'm working, going to school. And then as I turned 19, my dad passed away. And that was probably one of the first moments where I leaned on our friendship and really depended on his advice and his support because we lived together. And I'm not sure how old you were, but for not too long after that, your dad passed away. Is that right?
Yeah. So, similar stories, right? So, when Rob's dad passed, I felt it, right? Because again, like, this is my best friend. This is my brother growing up. So again, anytime something like that happens, obviously you feel, that emotion that your brother is feeling, right? And just going back to that, like that story, right? That brotherhood, growing up playing football together, again, doing those kind of things were super important to us. And I think that's what kind of kept us out of trouble as well. Mm-hmm. But, with his dad, I know he was hurting internally. I know, that really hurt him. No matter how much his dad was in and out of his life, he was still a big part of his life, right? And so again, when that happened, it was kind of a surreal moment for us because,
for sure,
we obviously I come from a family of addiction, as on my dad's side, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like a tale of two totally different families. So on my dad's side, it is very much drugs, alcohol,
the whole nine,
kind of everything, right? No faith, no nothing. Like, they claim to, know God, love God, but again, it didn't show in their actions.
Yeah.
And then you flip it 180 and you go to my mom's side of the family and they're very much, devout, like churchgoers, all about Christ.
Real close family.
Real tight-knit family, like cousins, like third cousins removed are getting together for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and and again, I just thought that was normal.
Yeah,
right?
No, for sure.
But again, it was definitely a 180, and again, even in that sense, they were very, they were kind of some of those judgmental Christians in my family. So again, You know, I know they kind of looked at us as the black sheeps of the family because we came from my dad's side too, right? You know, so, you know, a lot of people had doubted us, you know, growing up in that sense, and, you know, didn't think we'd really amount to much, because they saw what my dad was, right? They saw what that family did too. So again,
They're just judge you.
but yes, but always very loving, you know, even with Rob knows a lot of my family on that side, and you know, always very loving. But again, taking it back to when his dad passed, you know, I had that family aspect of, you know, you got to come together and you got to take care of your brother, right?
Yeah.
And so again, that's how I felt when he told me that, like, I got to be there with you. Like, I told him, hey, where you at? I want to go, I'll find you. I want to talk to you. Obviously, he didn't really want to talk at that point.
Understandable.
He, you know, it was hard for him, right?
Yeah, you know what's cool too is like you were one of the few people who actually met my dad. Like my wife never got to meet my dad. My kids will never have the chance to meet my dad. And it's cool because I try to paint the picture of who he was to me and how our relationship was. But when the paper says he died of drug overdose and people say he had, you know, problem drinking, etc., that's what the paper says. But who he was a lot different to me. And I'm glad that you got to meet him because you saw his personality. You saw, I mean, he wasn't a crazy aggressive addict type of guy. And even if he was, I'm not trying to paint a picture of a perfect person, but he had a really good personality and really cool personality. And I could see where a lot of me comes from him. So it's cool that I can, if we ever want to reference, talk about the good old times, he can say he at least met my dad. We had lunch. We got to spend some time.
Yeah.
Where you guys could almost go back memory lane together.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is,
I can't do that with my family because my wife's never met.
so
Yeah.
I want to back up a little bit. Your father passed away. You lean in on him, right?
Yep.
So is that the first time you guys really talked about maybe feelings or maybe what you guys were going through, or was it as kids you guys indulged?
I think when I was 19, I was still figuring a lot of things out. So I didn't have the mental capacity to deal with death other than I felt the loss. And I also felt like kind of like a feel sorry for me moment. And I knew that if I did anything wrong, there was a reason why. Like his death could be the reason I could blame things on. I wasn't the person I am today that would pivot it and use it into a positive way.
For sure.
At 19, it looks a lot different than it did. So yes, did we have those nights where they started off fun, we drank a little bit, and then a couple hours later it's sad country songs and we're crying and my emotions are really coming out?
And
for sure.
And so me as his friend, right, growing up, you know, in a toxic situation as well, I thought that was normal, right? I thought, okay, you know, people pass away, then we go party, right? And that's
the way it is.
exactly.
I mean, part of the healing is what we did is get, drink until memories come up. Well, one song that makes you think about your lost one, and you repeat it, and you're just you're releasing a lot of the emotions out, but they're not coming from a good place.
They're masked.
And you're not using God to heal anything. You're just emotion doing it.
So again, I mean, like as kids, did you guys talk about growing up? Like, I mean, dad's not there, like, or
I don't think we necessarily did. I mean, I think we both kind of knew that our dads were not there and, you know, had issues.
I mean, that's such the norm where we grow up.
Yeah. No, the reason why I ask is because as me and my cousin are close on my dad's side, my mom's side of the family is just like yours, right? Like my mom was into whatever she's into. Everyone frowned upon her, but now that we're doing the podcast, you know, and I've been talking a lot about what I went through as a kid, I have family from my dad's side that's like, dang, I didn't know you even indulged in that. Like, I didn't know that, you know what I mean? You come from that. So that's why I asked, because even that's my brother, right?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't even know half the things I went through.
I would say our first vision of talking about the next chapter of life was us moving to Albuquerque. I think the both of us knew that we had something greater in store for us, and we didn't want to end up like our fathers, or with all due respect, we didn't want to be like the people who graduate and stay stuck in Santa Fe. Like, our ambition was never to work for the city, the state. Not that that's not a phenomenal thing. It just wasn't our dream. So what we did is, I would say our junior, senior year, we knew that if we excelled in sports, we could then finish high school, get to Albuquerque, and just kind of opened up our life to a new opportunity. We didn't know what that looked like. I don't know if we really dialed it in or had those goal conversations, but we also knew that we were destined for more. So,
Well, I think, you know, knowing Rob,
it's been a while too. So
Right.
I'm never collecting.
yeah. So Rob has always been driven as far as like, you know, in sports and all that stuff. And now he takes that to his business side of things, right? So he's always had that drive in him. I think younger Rob, it came out in different ways, but it was still productive for me because for me, I've always been a little more timid and a little more beat around the bush type, if that makes sense, you know? And so like, you know, when we were going through these things, you know, it was very much, Rob was very direct, right? And again, that's how he is. That's that's
sure.
why we complement each other so well, because I believe it's like a yin and yang type.
100%.
Like I give it with a little more love, where he gives the real and straight, and then
Straightforward, yeah.
Does that make sense?
No,
And-
I see that.
And so, and it's not that I'm right, he's right. I just think that's the personalities we have.
Different deliveries, right?
And again, and I think that's why we've been friends for so long.
Mhm.
And just going back to you know, my story, obviously, you know, we, like you said, we have similar stories. So, you know, growing up in a family of addicts and alcoholics, right? My dad was one of those alcoholics that was non-functioning, really. So he would wake up and drink a pint of Dark Eyes vodka right off the bed, right? And
Right.
that's how he started his day, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, he never really held down like a career or anything like that. Like he had odd jobs, that kind of stuff. But he did get sober for years, right? So he was sober for, I think, 4 years of my life.
What did those years look like?
So those
for you?
years were really, really good. And I you know, I really love those years and those moments that I got with him, because again, my older brother didn't really get those, you know. He always had to be hard, and by the time he was too old by that time, right? He was already in high school doing his own thing when my dad got sober, and even out of high school, right? And so
he was already steco.
he was already kind of, you know,
hard to it.
yeah. And so I did get that from my dad, right? And I did get those years of him being sober for a little bit, and I saw the great person that he could be, right? And so again,
How old were you when he passed away?
I was 23 when he
So-
passed away.
So in those years, like now that, or I guess now that you look back at it, but this is something I can relate to, where it's because my mom was sober for about 6 year stretch, you know, and in that time I got to see who the real person she was,
Yeah.
and I was grateful for it,
Yeah.
and I loved every moment of it because she was the mother I knew she could always be, right?
Yes.
But then there was also that side where it was like, well, how great could my life have been?
Well, and you know,
Did you have like that moment too?
definitely.
Okay.
And tying this in, right? Again, I see it now, things that I didn't see back then.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And so again, that in those years, I was like, man, my dad's great. He would come pick me up, take me to do things. He was always there, working a steady job, like had his stuff together. But again, those demons caught up to him, right? Probably just like your mom. Like anytime something would go wrong in his life, that's when the alcohol would be his first resort,
Well,
right?
because
Yeah.
what I learned is that's just what was like, that's comfortable. Right? Yeah, they don't know how to face adversity in the face.
Exactly. And so
It sucks.
going back
It does.
to what, you know, this podcast is kind of about, right? And I think my dad had a lot of depressive and anxiety issues that he just never knew how to deal with. And
Well,
alcohol was
yeah.
the way that he dealt with it.
I mean,
right?
back then though, I mean, barely. I mean, maybe depression and all this, you know,
Yeah.
all this stuff kind of came maybe to fruition for men, maybe about 5 years. You know what I mean? Maybe 10 years.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the 90s or you know what I mean when you're like, oh, I'm depressed?
Yeah.
Like it was like,
So thinking about it, you know, like growing up, I was always, I've always been this way. You can ask Rob, right? I'm always more of like an optimist, right?
Mhm.
I'm always looking on the bright side, like, hey, it'll be okay. Like, let's, you know, he'll get sober. you know,
He'll figure it out.
Yeah, he'll figure it out. He's done it, right? He's done it once. He'll do it again. But inside, you know, and this is, you know, kind of hard to say, but inside, you know, I think I kind of always doubted it.
For
You
sure.
know,
For sure.
I would say it with my words, but I don't think I ever really
Yeah.
believed that.
Well, you said it with the intention and hoping that it would watch, because
Yeah.
I've been there too.
Yeah, exactly.
Where I'm like, this is the time. I know it is. But deep down in my, I was like,
Yeah.
I'll give her 30
Well,
days. Like, unfortunately.
So again, and I'm sorry if I tear up.
No.
But-
You're good, man.
Your kid going to you and asking you why you can't get sober.
Oh.
And why you can't do it for them, right?
That's my
But-
biggest question.
But again, that's one of my biggest things, right? And as I grow older right now, like I see my kids and I'm just like, I never want to be that guy.
For sure.
I mean, as much as I didn't know you, go walking into this, I can sit here and feel, and I can say, like, I think I know you more than
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because
Yeah, definitely.
we lived kind of the same life.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
I look at my kids, and like, I mean, I had parent teacher conference this morning at 7:30 in the morning, and it's like, I look at them and I'm like, never in a million years would I ever change this in the world. Like,
Yeah.
You know,
Those were almost weekly conversations that I had with my father. I would sit down with him while he was drinking still, while he was in that, and say, Dad, what are
why?
you doing? Why?
And
Why can't you get sober? Am I not good enough? Am I not worth
See,
it?
and here's where I'm going to speak about it, because I think with Zach's personality and his father exposing the alcoholism, he was able to see the problem, talk to him about it. Where with my personality and the way my dad actually did everything, just did it when I wasn't around. So for me, I never had
it
to
was
see,
present.
because and I remember vividly him saying, just whatever you do, son, don't do the things I've done. I said, cool. What have you done? Well, I don't want to talk about it because then you're going to replicate it. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. How do you expect me not to do something if you don't tell me what it is? But here's where I think, and I want to go into the next part of it, is he was able to deal with it in a certain way. I was able to deal with it in a certain way.
Yeah.
We unite as friends. We're going through life. My dad passes away. I'm 19. My dad's 42. He's 23. And your dad was how old when he passed away?
I
Do you remember?
It's like 49.
49. So a similar situation.
Yeah. It's
Okay, so then we both go through this. Now that I've gone through it, it's not healed. It's a couple years later. He goes through it. I'm there for him.
Yeah.
Now we have another thing to bond us together, because God has just done another thing that gets us to know that we should be in each other's lives at the same time. Now let's go into some more weird things that have happened to us. And I don't say weird, but weird because of the timing. Before, we had planned a trip, and this was when he was dating his wife and I was dating mine. And we talked about going on a trip together. First off, our wives, which were our girlfriends at the time, both went to the same high school, graduated the same class. They knew each other, I believe, but not on like a friendship level. So again, two guys from Santa Fe got with two girls from Cibola. Like, it was just, of course we would. Like, of course it would be like that. So then we plan a trip together to go to Vegas, and we're super excited about it. And then guess what? I got my girlfriend, pregnant, and we're like, well, we got to have lunch with Zach and his wife or his girlfriend, because we need to tell them we can't make the trip because we're going to have a baby. So one, we're super excited to tell them. And I had been wanting to tell him. So we go to Chili's, we sit lunch. I'm like, guess what? We can't go to Vegas. We're having a baby. And they're like, oh, bummer. Like, we're still going to go. And I'm like, for sure. Like, as you should. Like,
Have fun, yeah.
And now we're entering a whole nother season of life where I'm having a baby. Well, 2 weeks later, it's like, jinxed us. I'm like, what's up? Like, what happened? Bro, she was pregnant. She's pregnant also. So we're a month apart in age, and now our daughters are a month apart in age. So we both had our first daughters at the same time. We both get married. I'm in his wedding. He's in my wedding.
Yeah.
We both start that, kind of marriage season together.
Yeah.
Fast forward to today, we both run businesses together with our families, right? Our wives are involved. Him and his wife own a very successful cheerleading gym. I have the one GM, which my wife just having to deal with me as a business owner. She's a part of that as well. and our daughters are now best friends, and they have continued the friendship that we started. But the difference is theirs started when they were born.
Yeah.
So they're going to be able to at one day to say we have a lifetime friendship.
Yeah.
And it's not based on our friendship. They have their own friendship, but it's like, if you look at how our lives have paralleled together and just lived, you would almost think that we have the same life, but we're two opposite people with two opposite personalities.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put that out there because we've talked about it with each other, and it's like, dude, this is crazy. Because most friends, I have two friends from high school that I really talk to on a daily basis, and they both were the same people in my wedding, the same people that I consider my best friends, my brothers. But it's not common for any of us. I mean, it's high school. You're not supposed to have the friendships forever. It's people eventually move on and life grows. So that's where I wanted to make sure that you knew how our lives have come together, because then you can understand how we're dealing with things within our life that are not the same.
Yeah.
I've had problems and issues he hasn't dealt with.
Yeah.
He's dealt with some things that we're going to talk about today that I can't relate to, but I have also never took the time to listen to how it affected him. So kind of want to end on that side of it. And then I want to get into the next segment.
I'm guessing, right? When did life, I don't want to say maybe, when did it take a left turn? Like, I mean, obviously.
Yeah. So no, we'll talk about it. So again, so I struggle with anxiety and depression. Again, that's one thing that, I guess my father did pass down to me, I think it's kind of something that runs in my family because, I've had a lot of cousins, looking back at it, aunties and uncles, especially on my dad's side, that have struggled with it as well. So, again, I think the one major moment that I can remember where everything kind of changed for me, where I really knew I needed to get help. So I do sales. Again, it's a job where a lot of times you're taking customers out, you're doing, events with customers, that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of drinking involved. There's things that, some deals get done in the bars, right? Which it's not the greatest, place that, but again, that's where people open up, I guess, and we'll talk to you and stuff. So, I got my first like travel sales job, and I was traveling around, and I can kind of feel myself, sliding into something that I didn't want to, right? So again, there was times where I would go out with the customer, maybe a couple times a week, and we'd have beers, right? And I'm like, well, I got to go home to my family. I don't want to do this, right? I don't want to be here drinking with these people, but that's how deals were getting done, right? So, long story short, I went home one night, and again, I had been dealing with like internal stuff, struggling with sleep, struggling with just kind of different issues. And I didn't know what it was, right? I really didn't know what anxiety was, what depression was. I just thought I was tired or
Going through it.
Going through it. Yeah. Like, and so, I made the decision when, it was probably 10 years ago now, to smoke weed. And I smoked weed one night. It wasn't legal here yet. I got some from Colorado when it first became legal out there, right?
Yeah.
And I made the decision to smoke weed one night, and I freaked out. I had I guess you would call it a bad trip or whatever. But honestly, that night changed my life. And really after that, for months after that, here's preface it. That night I had a dream that I killed myself and I killed my family.
Sure.
And so I don't know if there was something in the weed or something in my chemicals that mess with me, but again, as you can hear me talk, my family means everything to me, right? Again, it's everything to me. So when that happened, it was so vivid that I woke up the next morning and I was just crying, bawling. I couldn't get out of my own head, right? So going forward with that, a lot of other things started popping up, just little things like, you know, am I good enough? Am I worthy? Am I doing these type of things? Right. And, you know, going to therapy and looking back at it now, I can see that, you know, it started the cycle. So, anxiety was the first one, right? So I got out of bed and I was still, you know, you have that nervous pit in your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I still had that nervous pit in my stomach, like something actually happened. You know, I woke up, I kissed my wife, I went and made sure my kids were okay, but I just did not feel right. I felt like everything in my life was just gone, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I had that nervous pit in my stomach, like something was going on. Again, I, you know, did my normal daily routine, but it just wasn't the same. I just could not get out of my
I
head.
couldn't wrap your head around.
Yeah. And so, again, looking back at it now, I can see what happened. My anxiety started, right? But anxiety comes as a big three, right? So it's anxiety, depression, and anger, right?
Mhm.
It's how we deal with things, you know, and it doesn't have to be in that order. That's my order, right? I think, you know, for other people, when things go wrong, it could be anger, depression, anxiety.
Yeah.
Or it could be depression, anger, and whatever. But those three always come together. And how you express that out, you know, is kind of
So-
how you're made up. But
I think back to like your anxiety, that's probably something you dealt with as a kid
yeah,
because there was just so much chaos.
and looking back at it, right? Again, as you know, I'm going through this and, you know, trying to heal, trying to do these things. You know, I look back at my life and I can see moments when in my childhood that I was anxious but just didn't know it. Like, yeah.
sure.
So like I would go to my dad lived with my grandparents. And, you know, my mom never sheltered us from my grandma's side, my dad's side of the family. My grandparents were great people. My grandpa, you know, he was a captain of the police force in Santa Fe for a long time. My grandma, you know, she was a nurse for a little while, did some other odd jobs, but she loved us, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that was our second mom, you know? And so, she never shielded us from that, but we saw a lot of things that we probably shouldn't.
Well-
because my dad was living there, my aunties were living there, they were doing things they shouldn't, right? But again, going over there, I can distinctly remember feeling that same gut feeling,
You felt that day.
just because I didn't know what circumstances I was going to walk into. I didn't know what dad I was going to get. I didn't know what Avery I was going to get. I can distinctly remember telling Rob one time because we used to go hang out at my grandma's. He knew my grandma and grandpa all the time. And we used to go hang out there in high school. And so I remember telling him one time, like, hey, sorry if my dad's drunk. He's going to be drunk.
Don't mind it.
Yeah, like, don't mind him. He's probably going to say some stupid stuff,
Yeah.
you know, and just don't mind him.
Which he did, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nothing, and there was nothing ever angry. He was always like a happy dude. And what's crazy is his attraction to people and how nice he was to people was always cool to see him. But you could just see from the beginning that he just was, he was there, but he wasn't there. So we were cool though. Like again, this is my brother, my friend. I wasn't ever going to disrespect.
Yeah.
I already knew the situation going into it, so I wasn't going to say anything. I mean, my life isn't perfect, so I wasn't going to say anything
For sure.
to him. But so okay, so that moment happens. The weed, depression. You have that dream. When did you realize that it was bigger than like a bad day? Because we've all had like bad dreams.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I've never dealt with anxiety on a high level. I don't believe, but I've dealt with anxiety, and then it's been like a couple days, and then I kind of like brush it under the rug. So how did you know it was more than?
So I think after that, right, a couple days after that, that same dream and that same like mindset just kept replaying in my head. So when you deal with anxiety, and again, I learned all this going through therapy and you know, talking to somebody and really you know, trying to wrap my head about what was going on. Because again,
why?
I've never been like that, right? I've never had those type of things happen to me. So again, obviously dealing with anxiety now, I know it was anxiety, but I never knew it was anxiety before. So this feeling is all brand new to me, right?
Mhm.
And so again, I've always been a positive person, right? I've always been the guy to be like, no, everything's gonna be okay. You'll be okay. Like,
We'll figure it
you
out.
know, we'll figure it out. Let's move forward. I couldn't be that. Like after that, I literally stayed So the week after that, right? I think it was, what's the holiday in May at Memorial? Is it?
The
I can't remember. It's one of those. Yeah,
Memorial Day.
Day, one of those, right? So I went and did a Murph workout, right? I think you guys have heard of that, where they do all that. Well, okay, well, I was fine during the workout. After that, my mind just started racing, and again, same type of thing, same type of thoughts, just thoughts of almost like it was almost like I was in a tunnel and I couldn't see anything but that dream or but what I was focusing on.
Well, because it really attacked who you loved the most.
Yeah.
And then really, like, I can see you were that type of father. It's like, I'm this kind of father because this is the father I've always wanted. This is how I want everything. So again, it comes in the form that matters to you the most, right?
Yeah, and I think, you know, him talking about it now, we've talked about it a couple of years ago, but in me being friends in that moment, I remember he went through something. Like, I remember him just like, hey man, just, you know, I'm not doing so well. Like, okay, cool. And like, I knew that I didn't know what it was, but I was letting him go through it kind of, because I didn't really have a solution, or did I really know the issue? I didn't know if it was relationship, if it was personal. I wasn't too sure, but I could tell because there was a distance between us where the calls weren't as frequent and there was just more like, energy and tonality. If you call somebody and you can tell they're not their normal self, I could feel something going on. So I guess when that leads to me asking is, when you identified it was more than just a bad trip or a bad dream, who's the first person you told, and did you feel like you couldn't talk to people about it, or how would you take that?
So I told my wife, you know, I said, hey, there's something going on with me. I don't really know what it is. I don't really know how to explain it to you. And, you know, imagine having that conversation with your wife that you had a dream that you killed her and your family, right? Again, like,
it's a tough conversation for sure.
And again, like I said, it was embarrassing, and it was terrifying.
I mean, you talk about being vulnerable.
It was terrifying. I was vulnerable. I was scared. I wasn't sure how she was going to take it. Right? She could have said, "Oh,
screw this, I'm out. I'm taking the kids.
Right? Like, I'm out and I'm taking You're crazy." Right? But really, she was the first person that I kind of confided in and said, hey, like, I'm not right. Like, there's something going on with my head and I need to get help. Right. And so, and, you know, after I told her, I mean, she was very encouraging, which was strange, right? Because I wasn't expecting.
Well, you never
I
had
was expecting the worst, right?
but you probably also never really had that person that was like, hey, let's figure this out together. I mean, other than Rob, you know what I mean? Hey, we're here, let's figure it out.
I mean, to be honest, at that time, 10 years ago, 28, whatever, he called me, I was starting to build a business. I was just maybe a year into building the cleaning business, and he would have called me and said, hey man, I had a bad dream, I had a bad trip. I've been like, man, like, I you know, I hope everything's okay, but figure it out. Like, all right, like,
I got a lot of shit on my plate.
Not just that, but I would have been like, all right, like, let's figure this out. You're good, bro. I got you. If you need something, I got you. But don't worry about it. It's nothing to worry about. It's nothing major. You're good. Move on. I would have said something in that sense of words of encouragement, but I would have totally overlooked the real root of the problem. Yeah. So, well, hey, because I can't relate.
Yeah.
And I would have been like, hey, I'm here for you. But you know, when people say like they're here for you, but you're like, well, you really aren't, because if I needed you,
well, I'm reaching out to you, right?
You couldn't do much about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wasn't there, but I wasn't a resource at that point, which is okay, you know?
So, and to be honest, I could kind of feel that, right? Again, I didn't want to tell him. Right. It was embarrassing to me. Does that?
Yeah. No, Friday.
And again, so, you know, this isn't my quote, but I heard this quote a while back, and it just stuck with me. It says, you're most qualified to help the person you used to be. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And so again, in that sense, he couldn't have helped me there. Because he didn't know what was going on in my life. Right. He's never felt that anxiety. So again, when you don't know, obviously it's, oh, you're okay. Just shake it off. Like, stop thinking about that. Stop putting those thoughts in your mind.
But in your head, you're like,
God, and
I can't. This thing's on my mind all the time.
exactly. So here, just how anxiety works and how my anxiety works, right? Is basically when I get a thought or a feeling like that, it's that tunnel vision, right? So again, everything is zeroed in on that. The focus goes there, right? Instead of everything else in my life. It was bam. And in that season, I was in that tunnel. Like, I was in that tunnel for, I would say, a good 4 or 5 months,
And
where I could barely leave the house.
And then 4 or 5 months, then you decided to go to counseling, or were you going to counseling within that period of 5 months?
About 4 to 5 months where I tried to fight it alone, where I tried to just say, hey, you're good.
It's a long time.
You're okay. You'll be okay. Right. I told my wife.
Yeah, I know.
I shared it with, my father-in-law. I shared it with my mom. My mom's my hero, man. She's always been there for me. She's always been that staple of faith for me, of God and what a godly woman looks like. So I did share it with my mom. I shared it with my older brother, obviously. But again, my older brother's never dealt with anxiety like that. So he didn't. He was like Rob, right?
Was there anyone in your family that kind of understood you, or did you feel like an outcast?
I kind of felt like an outcast. Again, like I said, it was more of, oh, you'll get through it. You'll be okay. You just stop thinking about those things, right? Ask God to help you. And all those things are good advice. I'm not saying that's not good advice.
Well, that's all the advice that they could give.
Yeah, exactly. But in those situations, really, and all I really wanted was somebody to kind of just be there with me, right? Just hug me. Cause again, I was in that mindset that it was hard to get out of, right?
Yeah. No. So, I mean, the reason why I ask is because I have a similar moment like you, right? Where for me, it was depression. So my mind goes the other way, depression, anxiety, and then anger, right? And so when I lash out and everything happens in my chosen to change moment, I looked at myself in the mirror after 2 weeks and I said, you are not the person who you want to be.
Yeah.
And you're not the person that everyone said you were as a child, right? Like, you need to get back to that.
Yeah.
So at that moment, that's when I was like, okay, I don't know help. Clearly, no one in my family can relate to me. I felt super outlier, right?
Yeah.
That's whenever I decided I need to talk to someone that does know what I'm going.
Here we go. We're warming up to it. So this is, you said you were how many months in?
About 5 months in, yeah.
Okay, so this is now the chosen to change moment where you knew that you had to seek help.
Yes.
You knew it was more than you could handle on your own. You knew you had to talk to people about it.
Yes.
So let's get into what helped you heal as far as your faith goes, the therapy, community. Talk about how that looked like after surrendering to needing help. And then I want to talk about, do you have a moment where it got worse before it got better besides the initial part?
Yeah.
Talk about day one after that 6 months.
So, really, honestly, the chosen to change moment was me surrendering my life to God, man. Again, I've always had faith. Like I said, I just talked about my mom. My mom, grew up Catholic, right? Again, and she's one of those devout Catholics that's there on Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? So again, watching her grow in her faith, that really helped me. But I don't think I ever really had my own faith, my own walk with God until after all this stuff happened. I was getting there. Again, being from two different sides of family, I came from my mom's side is very Pentecostal, so they're very in your face about Jesus and God, and
that's how you have to live.
House and so again, that was kind of my idea of Christian church. So when my wife approached me about going to Christian church, I was against it. I was like, no way, I'm not doing that. Right. That's what I thought Christian.
I was the same way about it for a while.
And so, actually getting into that church, and this was before all this started, before the anxiety started. So again, I think God really used my anxiety to wake me up,
to pull you in,
me in.
Sure.
I agree. I agree. And I remember seeing that stage of your life. And I remember, like, I'll be honest, like, again, I'm your friend and I'm someone that has done life in sync with you. I was like, okay, like, this dude out of nowhere is like, every verse, every post was like, not overdrive, but I'm sorry, when anybody doesn't express their faith and then they fully commit, all of us on the outside who don't have a relationship with God, we look at it like, is this real or is this fake? Is he for real or is he fake? Is he using this as like a catapult to get approval, or is he for real? And I know him, and I knew how he was. I knew he was legit about it, but it was kind of overdrive. Like, he was kind of like, it was overdrive where he was really over posting spiritual things, and it's not a bad thing, but it came from 0 to 100. And that's how I knew that he was seeking the help that he needed to help kind of get through everything. So that's just my perspective on that moment of time, because I do remember the shift of like normalcy posts, and then all of a sudden it was like, God this, God that, verse this, verse that, and I'm like, ooh, this is a lot. Like, and my boy went all out now, you know.
And going back to the question, I think that's what helped me get out of the pit, right? If that makes sense. I didn't do it for anybody else, right? I didn't, and I still don't to this day. I still post. You know,
the difference is you're so consistent since that moment to now. You've never changed, but your consistency has proven your authenticity. Not that you had to prove it to anybody, but like, to me, I fully understand that you mean the words you're saying because you're very consistent about it. But understand at the time, it went from 0 to 100. It just took a couple of days. It's like when somebody starts the gym and you're like, oh, they're going to quit soon. And then they don't. And then eventually you're like, man, that guy's a gym go-getter. It's just the season of change. And for other people who aren't changing, it always makes him think negative thoughts. And not that I was thinking them about him personally. It's just a natural reaction.
No, for sure.
When someone changes their algorithm of their posts, it's just natural.
So you go to counseling and then get into your faith, or you go into faith and then counseling?
No, so I started, again, like I said, this was even before I had the dream, before I kind of got really deep in anxiety. I had already started kind of making that turn into, I'm reading my Bible, I'm doing these things, which, again, thank God, because that was my anchor when I was drowning. So, you know, that was what pulled me out of the water. Like, you know, it's, you know, God's hand coming in that water and pulling me up, right? Pulling me into the boat. That was my moment to where it was like, okay, like, you know, there's two ways you can go, right? And we've seen it coming from the families we have. There's always those two paths.
Well,
right?
you're at a very big path.
And it all depended on the voice I listened to.
Repeated the cycle.
How many times were you going to counseling a week?
So when I first started, I started going twice a week. I would go.
Was it by yourself or did?
It was by myself. I didn't really even tell anybody, to be honest. I didn't even tell my wife that I was going to counseling at first.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing about it, to be honest.
Just because I was embarrassed, right? To be honest. And I didn't want anybody. I don't ever want anybody to worry about me, and that's an issue too, right?
Yeah.
Again, because I struggle to ask for help as well. So again, now I've gotten better at it for sure, going through all that and doing all that. But in that moment, in that season, that was my mindset.
Well, I think what's misunderstood, even to this day, is people that seek counseling for whatever it is. Other people think it's a bad thing, or they don't have faith, or they've given up on life. Just because you seek help from an expert, it doesn't mean you're doing something bad. I've never done it, but at the same time, I've heard Josh's story. I've heard yours, and I know a little bit about yours.
Yeah,
it happens to everybody. To normal people. It's not a certain demographic that they need counseling because they're bad people.
Yeah,
but if you seek it and it seeks you, take the counseling. Like, it's okay. Like, I just want people to know that it's okay to seek a counselor or therapy. Like, don't frown upon it just because you don't want your ego or your pride to get in the way.
Do you still go to counseling?
I still do every now and then. I haven't been in a few months for sure.
Okay.
But yes, I still do. And I still struggle with anxiety and depression. So for sure, I'm not out of the weeds, right? I still struggle with it, but again, I'm definitely better than I was.
The only thing is, the way I tell people about counseling is counseling doesn't fix it. What counseling does, it just gives you the tools and that you put in your belt. You start recognizing trends, you start recognizing cycles, and you know what to do and you know where to go instead of it just creeping up on you and then you're like, oh dang, and then before you know it, you're in the thick of it. So I go to counseling once a week still to this day, and my counselor, she literally told me, she's like, Josh, like, why do you come? And she's like, don't take it the bad way. She's like, but you should be in counseling maybe once a month, not once every other week.
Yeah.
I looked at her and I told her, I was like, because this is the only hour of the week that's about me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
no judgment, no nothing. Like,
definitely,
about me.
and it's about that consistency, right? And anything you do, like you know, Rob always tells me, you know what I mean? Like, hey, if you're consistent, how you do one thing is how you do everything. He's told me that multiple times. And so if you're consistent in counseling, you're going to be consistent in your prayer. You're going to be consistent in your walk with God. You're going to be consistent as a father, as a husband, as everything.
Building
you're
your
doing, right?
foundation.
You're building that discipline to say, okay, I'm consistent in this area of my life. I need to do this in every area of my life.
Yeah, no,
You know?
no, definitely.
But yeah, no, you know, I believe in counseling. I think counseling has helped me. Again, it's just an outlet for somebody you can talk to that is not going to judge you. They don't really know you, you know.
No one in your family gonna go run
And they are going to give you those tools you need to pull yourself out of that rut, right? Because sometimes you just get in those ruts, even if you're not dealing with anxiety and depression. Maybe you're just
life.
feel like you're having, you know, your life is kind of spiraling down, you know. Go talk to somebody, right? I mean, I always encourage people to talk to somebody, and like I said, talk to your brothers, right? Again, I know, you know, I had other people in my church community. Once I seeked counseling, I went and told them what was going on in my life, and that pulled me out of the rut too.
So
right?
that right there, whenever I became okay with going to counseling and I became with telling my story, right? Because at first, no one wants to tell your story. No one wants to, even as a child. But the moment I started telling people I'm going to counseling, doing this, my family was kind of like, nah, about it. Well, why? You know what I mean? This and this. But strangers and people who God was just putting in my life that moment in time, they're like, I didn't even know counseling was like resource, or that was this, or I thought you had to be this, like you look like a good guy and you're going to counseling. And I'm like, yeah. So definitely I feel like as you walk within whatever it's faith, mental health, God will put people in your life that you cross, that you touch, and that you create a new space for them.
Well, and when I did reach out, right, when I did start talking about this to other people, it's amazing how many people actually struggle with it as well. And like I said before, you know, you're most qualified to help the person you used to be.
So anxiety and depression is what your counselor was, I guess, not mastered him. That's what you went for?
Yeah, that's what I went for.
What is yours for?
Same, the PTSD.
Okay.
And anxiety, you know.
So I've never been to counseling or seen a therapist, but ironically, last Friday, I was invited to an AA meeting, and the gentleman who runs it is a good friend of mine, and he said, hey man, would you like to come speak to the AA class? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, I'm always in to give my time and any words that I might have to influence other people. So that was my first experience of a form of counseling, but I want to share this experience with you guys because it was definitely different for me. So I drove to Las Lunas, and I know there's rules in AA. You can't talk about people and their stories, but I want to give you guys my walkthrough experience. And I pull up to the building, and it's behind the building, so it's a little discreet. And I parked, no problem. Again, I'm there to talk, to help out. I'm really encouraged and motivated. Well, I get out the truck, I lock it. I'm walking towards the building, and all of a sudden I have this weird insecurity feeling that pops up in me. Like, wait, what if someone sees me walk out of my truck into the AA building? Do I have enough time to stop and tell them that I'm not here for myself and I'm here to help? Or does it even really matter at that point? Or if I say that, does it look like I'm rejecting the fact that I'm supposed to be in AA? Like, those are real things.
Yeah, because it could
A
look.
lot of people are in denial. So I go through the chain link fence, I walk up the stairs, and there's a big wooden sign, AA, I'm right here. I'm like, okay. So I open the door, but I just felt super insecure from 30 seconds ago, I was motivated and excited to inspire people to all of a sudden I was at an equal playing field with them. And I sat down, I got there early and he showed me all the coins. And there's one that's a 24-hour sobriety coin, a month, 2 month, 3 month. And it goes all the way to actually 100 years, which a lot of people have never even seen that coin. But pretty cool to see the structure of it.
Yeah.
In their book, God is talked about 284 times. It's not a spiritual thing as AA, but it is referenced a lot. So the class begun, and when you say your name, you introduce yourself. You say, I am Robert. I'm an alcoholic. So everyone around the room was saying their names and then saying they're an alcoholic. Well, it came up to me, and I'm like, well, I'm Robert. He's like, just say you're my friend. I'm Robert, and I'm a guest. And then I go, good to see you, Robert, or something, and it was a...
You feel like you like that was a gut check? Like kind of like...
I mean, it was just humbling because
Mhm.
I think I've never had an alcohol problem, but at the same time, has alcohol caused problems in my life? Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
Never to the point of addiction, but to the point of bad decision making. So I sat there the entire class. Everyone read their part. They talked about their testimonies, and some people passed, and some people. There was a couple of guys like, if it wasn't for this weekly class, I would not have a purpose for life. And I was like, wow, man, that's cool.
Mm.
And class ended. We all prayed. And I talked to some people and they're like, man, thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming, because I didn't have to be there. And although I thought I was doing them the favor for me going, it was opposite. I learned a lot in that 1 hour class of an AA meeting that I'd never had to go to. I wasn't, told to go, but I went on my own grace. And I think that was a lesson that God taught me to just, be understanding of other people and what they're going through. So to go through that and then sit here with you guys and talk about the therapy you guys have dealt with and the counseling you guys have dealt with, it just reminds me that it's for everybody and anyone's
for sure.
problems. So
And I think
I wanted
everyone
to just contribute that, because prior to that, I didn't really have a whole lot of experience.
next I kind of wanted to get into is just some reflection and talk about some verses that
Yeah.
popped up. So we'll let our guests go ahead and read them off. And
So this is one of my favorite Bible verses. It's Psalm 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. And then also Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up with my victorious right hand.
I love it. That's actually 4110 I have it tattooed on the inside of my arm. And I love that one because when he says, do not fear, I'm with you. A lot of us feel like we're alone in life and we feel like we have to battle things on our own when we have God to protect us and to be there for us. So that's one of my favorite verses. Like I said, I have it tattooed on me, and I recite that one pretty often. So thank you for picking that one. That's a good one for me.
yeah, I think I've been in those places where I've been low, the lows of the lows. And I unfortunately felt like I was walking through it alone.
Yeah.
And now to this day, I can say I wasn't walking through it alone. I have never walked alone in life. It's just I didn't embrace him.
Yeah.
So just to know like those small gestures that he really was there with me and he was really guiding me, whether I was resistant to it or not.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and again, I know we're wrapping up, and I think, in closing, I think, anybody struggling with anxiety, depression, anybody really struggling out there with anger, seek help, please. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, because again, you're not alone, you're not crazy, and this will end. So make sure you reach out. You reach out to people. People will understand, I promise.
That's perfect.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I think with that, I don't think we can really end it on a better note. So remember, we are chosen to change. You are too. It takes you to do it. Have a great week.
Thank you guys. Appreciate you.